Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Welcome to Those Were the Days, the show where we walk down memory lane, find the local electronics shop, go inside and see what's playing on the television sets of the past. Yes, kids, we used to use all those words to say television set. Then we watch a gem of a show and decide, was it a diamond in the rough or just some glass we need to toss back? Now, I'm your host this week, Audie, and we're starting off a new topic of shows and decided to keep it simple. We're just doing sitcoms. Now, before we get to the sitcom we watched this week, I have to introduce the rest of my podcasting crew who are in service to you, our listeners. First, serving breakfast, it's Amy.
Welcome back, sports fans, to the 1985 Toxic Masculinity Championships. It's been a volatile first half. Brick Wall Punch has really been racking up the gay euphemism points, but Slab Squat Thrust is giving him a run for his money by putting all of his unfulfilled dreams onto a 7-year-old son. We haven't seen play like that in quite some time. And with the shocking disqualification of Gristle McThornbody in the last round amid allegations of light beer use, it could be anyone's game. Sure to be an electric second half, but first, the Hooters Hot Wings halftime show. Stay tuned.
We're done.
All right. Good show, everybody. Hang it up.
Okay. Next, with sandwiches for lunch, it's Travis.
ABC Television Productions, talk to me. You got an idea for a sitcom about a posh English housekeeper coming to stay with a family and take care of their 3 kids? Oh, that sounds awfully familiar. It's based on a character from a novel back in the 40s? And there was a movie of this same character. I feel like I've heard this one before. All right, I'll tell you what. No. Here's what you do, okay? You make the character a guy, right? No magical powers at all. This is important. And you set it somewhere in the Rust Belt. I don't know. Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh's fine, yeah. You know what? And cast Bob Uecker as the patriarch. I mean, that's going to draw in viewers for sure. Yeah, we'll put it on Friday nights. I doubt anything's ever going to change in that time slot.
And finally, slaving over dinner, it's Steven.
This show inspired me to make a career change into a live-in butler with almost no standards with which to perform my job. Really wish you'd started with me, Audie. I wasn't prepared to follow either of those games.
It was all downhill from there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm really sorry about how I just let the ball
No,
drop to the
we've
ground.
peaked. It's over.
You set the peak. Okay, so this week the first sitcom that I brought us was a favorite of mine from back in the day, Mr. Belvedere. And as we usually try to do, let's go around and see everybody's connection to it, if at all. So, Steven, I'll start with you this time.
Oh boy, I can let you
What's your
down
connection?
again. I have never heard of this show before in my life. This was
Really?
honestly the first time I'd ever heard the word Mr. and Belvedere put together in a sentence. I remember Belvedere
Wow.
bunny or bear or something, but not this ever. So this was brand new to me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Travis, what about you?
I remember the show. I remember it existing. I know, like, I've heard the name Mr. Belvedere a lot. I don't ever remember watching it. And this feels like a show that we would have watched in my house, but for some reason, I just have no memory of ever watching it. I had no idea Bob Uecker was in it, any of that. So it was kind of interesting.
Nice. Okay. Amy, what about you?
We definitely watched it. Like it falls into that category of I could not tell you what happened in literally any episode, but I know that we watched it. I know the theme song for sure.
Mhm.
Like, and I think it was a Family Guy. There was a reference. Oh yeah, because Stewie was trying to watch Mr. Belvedere, and people are talking, and he starts like screeching out the theme song. And I feel like that has maybe stuck with me more. But we definitely watched Mr. Belvedere.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was definitely one that we watched a lot. I think I'm in the same boat. If like I couldn't really tell you anything specific about
couldn't
it
tell
other
you.
than the main what happened. British guy serving as the server for the family. So, anyways, and Travis pretty much nailed it with his intro talking about it. So, Mr. Belvedere was an American sitcom that aired for 6 seasons on ABC from March of '85. It was a mid-season replacement until July of 1990. Based on the character of the same name from the 1947 novel Belvedere by Gwen Davenport.
Had no idea at all.
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't.
Yeah. See, I watched the show. I had no idea either. 3 feature films of the character were made. Sitting Pretty in 1948, Mr. Belvedere Goes to College in 49, and Mr. Belvedere Rings the Bell in 51.
Yeah, it wasn't until I was IMDbing that I went, wait, what? What?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the premise was the same. Mr. Belvedere is an English housekeeper hired to sight unseen to nanny for an American family. In the novels and movies, it was 3 young rambunctious boys, and in the books and movies, Mr. Belvedere actually uses everything he learns to write a best-selling novel about the family and everybody in the town, and they're not too crazy about it.
I'm sure.
So, after that, multiple attempts to bring the character were attempted. One in 1956, one in 1959, and one in 1965. But it wasn't until the '85 version that it actually stuck. And again, ABC, played by English actor Christopher Hewitt. The series was about Lynn Belvedere, hired by an American family. George and Marcia Owens as a housekeeper for them and their 3 kids: Kevin, the oldest; Heather, the middle daughter; and then Wesley, the youngest.
And if I remember correctly, they hired him thinking Lynn was a woman.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh,
I mean, we'll get
okay.
into it with the episode because
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
up. But yeah, and it's funny. He kind of shows up and just takes the job in the first episode.
That's great.
So, being a cultured man with many skills and achievements, apparently he even once worked for Churchill. He serves as a counselor of sorts to the family, helping solve problems along the way, as typical 80s sitcom. And each episode ends with him writing in his journal, recounting what happened in the episode and what he got out of it as a lesson.
I love this, and we had it in Doogie Howser.
Mm-hmm.
They do it, I mean, even as recent as, Sex in the City. I am such a sucker for the we're just gonna recap this in a very obvious way.
Right.
Yeah.
Love
yeah.
it.
Well, and it's funny too because it comes from the whole thing of the book of him writing
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
everything and making a book out of it. So, co-creators and executive producers Frank Duggan and Jeff Stein set the series in a upper middle class suburb of Pittsburgh, though neither had ever been there before developing
Perfect.
the series.
Yeah.
Ideal.
That's the best thing.
That's
They
how you
learned
do it.
Pittsburgh locales from a promotional calendar.
Yes.
It's
probably
Let's
for the best.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Pittsburgh or let someone from Pittsburgh talk at you? They have a way of speaking that doesn't work with most other humans. They have their own language. It's kind of a wild place.
A little bit, yeah.
Send me your hate mail, Pittsburghians.
Mhm.
They will loudly.
I know, that's
Yes.
fine by me. But Mr. Rogers came from Pittsburgh. I mean, what are you gonna
Yeah.
do? And Michael
Yeah.
Keaton.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's a gym produced every once in a while.
Mhm. A little bit.
Yeah.
And so then we talked about the theme song, according to our new arrival. Again, this is in the era where theme songs were written specifically for television shows. This one was not originally written for this show. It was written by Judy Hart Angelo and Gary Portnoy, who also wrote the theme songs to Cheers and Punky Brewster.
Yep.
Sung by ragtime singer Leon Rabone. It was originally composed in '84 for a rejected TV pilot called Help, which was actually resurrected in '87 as Marblehead Manor.
I've never heard of either of those.
I've no
Yeah.
idea.
The show sounded familiar, but I didn't know it. And they just tweaked a little one lyric, changing arrivals to arrival, and then it became the theme for Mr. Belvedere.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There's
So,
one big problem we got. We got one guy instead of two guys. Oh, what are you gonna do? Remove the S. Oh,
Listen,
perfect.
There's no point in wasting all that hard work.
I agree. You know how hard it is to write a song, much
Mm-hmm.
less a TV theme song. I won't. I
Right.
don't want
And
that job.
It's a pretty good theme song.
I was
And
going to
it's-
say
yeah,
it was stuck
it's
in my
good.
head the past 2 weeks. Easy.
Like it's not Cheers, right? It's not The
No.
Greatest American Hero, but it's still, it's upper
Mhm.
half. It's
It's
good.
there, yeah.
Yeah, they're
So-
not playing it on the radio,
No,
but it's
No,
good.
no.
No, it was funny when I was doing the post on Instagram and looking to see if the music was there. Somebody covered it somewhere, so that was the one I used.
Incredible.
So
Awesome.
now the show never cracked the Nielsen top 30 ratings in its entire run, but it was solid enough and often winning its time slot that it made it 6 seasons. And then after
That's impressive. It's
Yeah.
honestly
It
impressive to
really
go
is.
6 seasons with a never being in the top 30.
right,
Yeah.
that was. I mean, that's why I mentioned it, because I was like, wait, never back made the top 30, but made 6 seasons. Okay, so they were doing something right. Good enough.
Netflix is going to go back in time and cancel it early.
Well, here's the thing. It went into various syndication runs up until 2018. Shout Factory, of course, is the one that's releasing the DVDs, but they only have the rights to the first 4 seasons. They're still trying to get the rights to the last 2 for whatever reason. So, good luck finding it. I mean, luckily somebody put it on YouTube for us to watch.
What?
But
Reading about it, it didn't even air like in reruns for a long time.
mhm.
Like there was a long gap in its syndication on like just broadcast television without ever being anywhere, let alone on any streaming services. So I don't know. I don't quite know why, but
Well, I'm sure it
found that
was. That's one of those things where they're just looking at the numbers. It's like never crack the top 30. Why should we put it on anywhere? Kind of call.
yeah, I suppose.
So
But it just feels like, as more and more cable channels came out and they're looking for just any programming at all, it's like, well, this was around for, here's 118 episodes or something. We can just throw those on anytime.
sure. You think they would?
You'd think so.
So the cast is mostly known just for this. Nobody went on to do too much else. You've got Christopher Hewitt as Mr. Belvedere. There is Bob Uecker as George Owens. We'll get to him in just a minute. Eileen Graff is Marcia, the mom. Rob Stone as Kevin, the oldest son. Tracy Wells as Heather, and Bryce Beckham as Wesley. I think the only one out of those is Bryce Beckham is one of those guys that grew up and just started working behind the camera and does stuff now like that.
Well, Christopher Hewitt is in the 60s version of The Producers.
Right.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
He's
Yeah,
the choreographer. Which
I
then
mean-
you go, well, of course it
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Like, yes, no, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Especially after this episode.
That's what I'm saying.
But Bob Uecker, yes, very interesting that he was in this. So, for those of you who don't know, Bob Uecker was actually a professional baseball player.
Mhm.
In 62 to 63, he was with the Milwaukee Braves. 64 to 65, the St. Louis Cardinals. 66 to 67, the Philadelphia Phillies, and ended his career in 67 with the Atlanta Braves. And then he started announcing for the Milwaukee Brewers. He's been announcing since 1971.
Oh
Mhm.
wow.
Still doing it.
Yep.
So in 2024, at the age of 90, he began his 54th season. And that is the second longest active major league broadcaster. After
Just a bit outside.
Wow. So I didn't look up anything about anybody about this show today,
Mhm.
but I recognized his voice
Yeah.
from somewhere. I couldn't place it, but I was like, I know this actor. In YouTube, it was at like 8-bit, so I could barely see his face.
Sure.
But I was convinced I knew who that. Now it all makes
Okay.
so much
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Major League?
I have watched Major League, but I don't remember it enough to tell
He's
you.
the voice
You
of
would-
that
yeah,
movie. Like you would
that's
know
the-
him.
Okay.
You would recognize him from
like
that.
Amy just quoted
Yeah,
his
just
line.
a bit outside.
Okay. Got it.
So
He also did a lot of. There was a commercial series for a while with Miller Lite that he was a part of.
Yeah. So Miller Lite, those Miller Lite commercials were his first acting gig. This show was his first professional acting gig after those.
Yeah.
And then he started doing movies and stuff here and there on top of announcing for
But
the
he-
Milwaukee Brewers.
He pretty much always played like himself or a
Mhm.
sportscaster.
A version
Right.
of
A
himself.
version of himself.
Yes. And even in this show, he starts out as a sports writer and eventually becomes a sportscaster as
That's-
George
Yep.
Owens.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
But he is very funny and he has very good comedic timing.
oh yeah.
Mhm.
I will say that.
Yeah. So they cast him well and he did very good on this
Oh,
show.
he also voices himself in Futurama. He is a head in a jar in
Mhm.
Futurama.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Great.
Yep. So that brings us to our episode of Mr. Belvedere, season 1, episode 3, Gotta Dance. So
I'm ready for this. This is what we started this show for.
yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
So we open with Mr. Belvedere watching a little TV on the kitchen counter. And I say little because it's a little screen, but the TV is still huge.
Massive. The rabbit
Um,
ears.
Yep. Them photons, man.
Mhm. And you don't see it, but you hear them when they're clicking it, of actually turning knobs and click, click.
Oh, yeah.
You know, watching a jewelry ad, you know, all this jewelry for $19.95. But wait, there's more. No, there isn't. Click. Turns it off.
What a great response to an ad on television.
Yeah.
It really is.
And then we get you know, George and Marcia come in to the kitchen for their usual breakfast, apparently. And they're
We
wondering-
should mention this is like episode 3,
right.
and we are like real timing it almost, in that he's been there like less than a week.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
he's been there a few days. They're expecting breakfast, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't think you were going to eat breakfast until after services."
Yeah, till you got back, and they're like, "Where are we going?"
Yeah.
And apparently, he found a church bulletin somewhere and was like, "We figured you were going
In
to
the
church."
junk drawer, obviously from
Mhm.
Easter,
Yeah.
Yep.
like any good Catholic. That's
Right.
where they go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Also, who goes to church before breakfast? Like, I don't know how you do that.
Well, if you're
Yeah.
Catholic, you're supposed to fast an hour before Mass if you're going to take communion.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. I'm a Protestant. I had no idea.
Yeah.
We don't have those rules.
Right.
I don't know if I could hang if I didn't have had all those rules to deal with. Like, I gotta
Yeah,
have
but we
an
got
egg.
like incense and stuff. So
Oh, yeah,
that's
you get the
where
cool
it's
stuff.
It's cool. Don't even worry about it.
Dang it.
We don't get to eat, but we get to burn stuff. Okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, take a
So-
bitter with sweet, man. That's how it
And
works.
you know, it's just the response, like, "We do go," and George is like, "We're not fanatics."
I was so happy about this entire scene because this played out in my kitchen before, like when I was a kid growing up. Like, oh, we go. It's like, no, we go Christmas and Easter. Oh, but we, you know. And then when you did have to go, I was always like, I don't want to go. I'll stay home. It's Sunday.
Yep.
This
Which
hit
was
very
why
close to home.
Wesley's response was great when it's like, we're going to go to church. It's not Easter.
Yeah, right. It was exactly right.
Because
I felt
and
this.
right before that, he comes in bringing Dad's golf clubs because that's
Because
what Dad
it's
was expecting
because that's
to
the
do
whole thing.
next
Because
Sunday.
it's Sunday.
Mhm.
The sun's out.
Yep. So I just love it. They all decide to get ready for church, and you know, George is carrying his golf clubs. It's fine, and Mr. Belvedere, you know, just apologizing, "Say a little prayer for me." And George is just like, "Oh, I will. You're gonna need it."
That was
It was
great.
great.
I like that
Then-
whole opener.
Yeah. Then we get the wonderful theme song. And then we get everybody coming home from church, which, good Lord, does this feel like every time we come home from church?
Oh yeah,
Somebody did
100%.
something.
It's one of my favorite tropes in television, especially sitcoms, is the family or the group coming back from something and we just hear about what happened.
Yeah, the
there, and
fallout.
it's always
Uh-huh.
outlandish. I love it. It
Yeah.
never gets old for me.
Yeah.
So apparently Kevin somehow managed to knock the collection plate over down some lady's dress.
Yeah, but there was like $10 in change. It was
Uh-huh.
great.
So, Oh, and by the way, Mr. Belvedere is fixing breakfast and watching television. We don't know it yet, but he's watching the ballet.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then we get our first instance of, yep, this is an 80s television
Oh,
show.
yeah.
George coming over. Never seen a fat broad jump like that. Yeah. I was like, oh, is this going to be just the 10
Oh,
of
you
us?
thought
I
that
was
was the
so
worst
sad.
joke?
It was not the worst joke. It was just the first joke.
Yeah.
It was the first of many bad taste
Of
Mhm.
many, just
Yeah.
the worst.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep bringing these with us, guys.
No, somebody's got to do it.
Someone has to.
Well, at least this one gets a little redeemed at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
It's not quite just the 10 of us bad, luckily.
Yeah, just forgot about that show.
Anyways, then Wesley comes in, and I love this. Oh my gosh, I love this. Apparently, he was in trouble. And he says, Mr. Belvedere, all I did was ask why there weren't any dinosaurs on Noah's Ark. I love that question.
It's real good.
You know, Mr. Belvedere's just like, I wanted that myself. And apparently, some kid laughed at him, and he hit him with a hymnal.
He blessed it with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was fun. I was blessing him. It's like, yep. That's right. Try to use scripture to do that.
Yep.
We had a joke back in college of, when we get into a fight with somebody, we were laying hands on them suddenly.
Yeah.
So, George asked Wesley to throw the football, as men do. But then Wesley sees Mr. Belvedere watching the ballet. It's stuck in my head because he kept calling it the ballet.
Yeah.
He would say it.
Yeah.
So Wesley is fascinated because he thinks they're just dancing, and then, hey, that guy could jump.
It was a good line. It was if he's so great, why doesn't he play for the Celtics? It was just really good.
That was good.
Yeah. And it was funny, Mr. Belvedere's like, that was a cabriole, a very difficult maneuver. So, which, by the way, I did reach out to a friend of mine who does take dance, has been dancing most of their life, and it was like, yeah, it's not exactly that hard, They were like, intermediate level, about 2 to 3 years, you could do it. I was like, that sounds difficult enough.
That sounds
to me.
challenging.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
No, 2 to 3 years.
This
of
is 2 to 3
training.
ballet years, which is like a
Right.
whole other thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But still, I was like, okay.
Your feet are
All right.
mangled by then.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Your toes don't even look like human toes anymore.
Oh yeah, I was shared stories of that, and
Yeah.
I'll leave that there.
Yeah. You ever pulled it? Never mind.
So
Just let that drop on the floor there.
yeah, that's good. And then Wesley continues to watch and is fascinated, and it's like, why would they do that? And Mr. Belvedere is like, they chose to dance. Requires the same skills and strength as any professional sport. To which Wesley is like, you think I could do it? And Mr. Belvedere very encouragingly is like, yeah, with practice and discipline, yes. And Wesley's like, cool. Then Dad comes back. He's like, hey, let's throw the football. And Wesley's like, okay, cool. And he runs and does a little jump.
Yeah.
Dad's just like, hey, he's a natural. To which Mr. Belvedere and Marcia just give each other a look.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
Now,
does
I
he
mean,
know?
this is like, I feel like this is the prime time, but maybe this is a little before when like college football players all took dance. Like
So this
that was
is
the
like
big
right
thing.
before
Is
that.
it right before
because
that? All right.
As I was watching this, I was thinking about the fact that like, no, college football and NFL players were taking dance
Yeah.
classes
Yeah,
for agility and all of that kind of stuff. And this was 85.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that stuff a few years after that. It was
Yeah,
like
all
late 80s, early 90s, but
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I asked my friend about that, and they were definitely like, "Oh yeah, that's not a myth or anything. That has definitely happened."
Yeah.
And they were like, "It's charming to watch, football players and stuff try so hard." Just because it's a very intense sport that focuses on techniques of precision movement, and can only enhance coordination and skill that they would want and need in whatever sport or thing they're
Yep.
doing. So yeah, then we get to the next scene, where Marsha's asking Heather, is walking down, apparently about a $900 number on the phone bill, and it took me several times to listen to figure out what the heck she said this phone bill was for. And I finally got it. It was a Duran Duran hotline.
Yeah.
Duran Duran.
For whatever
Yeah.
reason, the way she said it, it was like Duran Duran. And I was like, wait, what? Um, but apparently she called 15 times. It cost about $10. And that's coming out of her allowance.
This was the best part of this entire
Oh my
episode.
gosh.
This was so good.
I was like, I was not expecting it.
No, and she
At
just solemnly
all.
looks down, but I need that money for birth control. Mom's looking at Mr. Belvedere's turnaround and eyes wide.
It was so
laughed so
good.
hard. I was like, that
Oh
is
my God.
It's
awesome.
really good.
And then
Yeah.
immediately she's like, I'm kidding.
I know,
Oh my gosh.
I was really just joking to gauge your response to see if I could actually
Mhm.
ask for that. But no.
Hey gang, hey gang, hey gang. Birth control's for more than just birth control.
I
It
was
is.
gonna
More
say,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Familiar.
will say, as a male, it was a long time before I actually learned that. So
Mhm.
It's just that part was so good.
Mm-hmm.
it was.
It was so
hilarious.
well
I like
delivered.
the thought that $10
That was
is
really great.
really gonna
Mhm.
do it.
And then she walked away. You're so tense and tight. Jeez.
It was so good.
Yep. Then Kevin and Wesley come home from ballet practice, where he's been learning lots of steps. I love that Mr. Belvedere's like, I hope you've been minding your pliés and jetos.
It's really good.
And he's just like, yep, I know all that stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah, he is
Um,
all about this dance class.
Yeah.
which is
He
awesome.
really is.
It was really cute.
To the point that apparently he's going to be in the recital that's happening Friday night. And Kevin's like, guess you're going to have to tell Dad now. And it's like, oh, he doesn't know yet. Of course.
Mm.
Man, the
You know.
age of fearing dad in your TV
Mhm.
shows.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Wesley's like, I can't keep lying to him like I'm playing football. And then I loved Mom's like, I'm not lying. And Mr. Belvedere steps in. This was great. Your mother is simply telling your father a slightly edited version of a small part of the approximate truth.
Mhm.
It's like, I'm going to have to remember that one.
Yeah, that's good.
The best part is when he talks about, he's like, there's that time he came home, he got home before us and I had to roll around in the mud.
That was so funny.
So,
And I'm sorry, but no dad that into his kid playing football is gonna not go to practices
Yeah.
or be somewhat
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially when his dad's a sports writer, which is alluded
Yeah.
to after. Like that
Mhm.
is his job is to go to events.
Yeah.
So, they're trying to explain it to Wesley. Dad is not into things not athletic. I'm athletic.
Thank
I love
you.
that. I meant athletic in the, it's to which Mr. Belvedere says, the Cro-Magnon sense.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're like, we're going to tell him. Dad's home. Throw the ballet slippers around to everybody to hide them.
Yeah.
George comes home with some shoulder pads for Wesley. And he's just like, great. Shoulder pads.
Thanks.
Then we cut to Marcia in the kitchen and Mr. Belvedere talking about it. Talking about why they haven't told George yet. Wesley comes in with a look. It's just like, why am I doing this? Twitch Mom is just like, I thought Wesley would lose interest. And then Mr. Belvedere steps up and is making a good argument to give George more credit than that. That, seeing that this is something that Wesley likes and is actually good at, he might actually approve of it and be proud of it. And Mom's like, okay. And then he puts the little caveat, of course, I'd appreciate it if you leave my name out.
I feel like he's gonna assume though.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
clearly, it's the
Oh, I'm sure
the
that
Yeah.
that's where it's going. So.
you know how those British are.
Mhm.
You know.
So mom comes into the next room. Everybody's there, asking where dad is, and sure enough, here he comes down the steps with the ballet slippers, and they all are just like, yeah, ooh, to which Wesley just goes up and grabs him. Is like, I think you can tell him now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so there's the first they try to pass them off as the sisters, and the older
Yep.
brother
Mhm.
is such an idiot because
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, and you don't even have to ask her to try him on.
Look, that was my second favorite part of
Yeah.
his involvement in this scene.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
So then George dad is asking how long this has been going on. Is told it's been going on a month. And then we get our next great, little misogynistic thing about, I thought he was playing football. He's been doing twirls down at the tutu farm.
This is when I wrote the note. I wrote, it's like watching childhood trauma and anxiety get created in real life. Like in front of your eyes, you're watching what happened to most millennial, probably prior to that, kids when their dads were like, you play baseball like everybody else. And you're just like,
you're getting ready, like, future
This-
therapy dollars.
yeah, this is the you're
just
never
rack it
going to
up.
be good enough for me situation.
Well, and
happening.
there's another very telling part at the very end.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yep.
And then George goes off. He's like, anything else I need to know? Heather, are you still in school? Kevin, are you married? Got any kids?
And Kevin's
His
shrug.
face, he's like, I don't know.
That killed me.
That I know
just
of.
killed me.
I don't-
Exactly. To which, at this point, Mr. Belvedere steps up and takes partial blame. And George is like, it's Belvedere, isn't it? It's like,
That's the bit. Like, who else would it be?
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Who else in the house speaks English like that? No. Yeah, it's Mr. Belvedere. And then he immediately is like, yeah, it's all your fault. And then Wesley comes back in, and George, being the good dad, is like, he's gonna support him, or at least say he's gonna support him. So you come in Friday night. He's like, you bet, I wouldn't miss it for the world. And Wesley's all excited, runs upstairs, and he's like, what the hell is Friday night? And they hand him the card for the recital.
It's like, at this point, we're 2 minutes away from the Jerry Springer episode, My British Butler Made My Kid Gay. Like, that's like where we're at.
Yeah. Oh, we're
That's
coming
really
to
good.
that. Believe me.
Oh, yeah.
So then we get the next scene where Mr. Belvedere comes to George in the kitchen, who apparently wanted to talk to him. And we definitely get George telling him what he had in mind when they were looking for what was the word he used? A domestic.
A domestic.
Domestic.
Yes.
He had in mind a plump, pleasant, apron wearing, keeping to herself, but be around as needed kind of person. It's like, you know what I had in mind? And Mr. Belvedere's response, yes, Mrs. Buttersworth. And then we get George's line, I don't need a front man for the Bolshoi putting crazy ideas in my kid's head.
Like reel it in, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Just dial it back just a little bit there.
Does
Just like a
anybody
little.
else know what the term Bolshoi comes from?
It's the ballet, the Bolshoi, the Russian ballet.
The
isn't
Russian
it?
ballet.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't figure it out.
I
And
believe that's where Baryshnikov originally danced. I'm talking a lot out of my ass right now.
Don't worry,
Like a
the internet will
lot.
find a way to correct
Don't
us.
even worry about it.
We should be wrong more often. We'd get more email.
We
Yeah,
get more-
true that.
we're already getting emails from everyone from Pittsburgh, so I'm not worried
Oh, yeah.
about
Okay,
it.
good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You're
I
welcome.
did not put that together. So, okay. That makes sense now.
Yeah, the Bolshoi Theater.
Oh no, Baryshnikov was from Latvia, not Russia. Never mind.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Well, at least George is, cultured enough to actually know that. That was
Yeah, but we're at a point where we can be really upset about the Soviet Union. That's
Right.
like the important
Oh,
part.
Yeah.
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Because, like, we're not talking about French ballet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No.
We're talking
That's
about
true.
Russian ballet.
So, but then, Mr. Belvedere definitely sticks up for Wesley. He introduced Wesley to it, but Wesley chose to do it. And, has stuck with it and has really enjoyed it. So it's laudable and he deserves everyone's support. To which George is just like, whatever. Mr. Belvedere just leaves. It's good we could talk like this.
Just dial in Springer.
Uh-huh. Yep. So then we cut to everybody getting ready to go to the recital. Oh, wait, everybody's in the car already, and George is stalling.
Okay, all right. Now, having been to several small young children's dance recitals, I'm not blaming him on this particular aspect. And quite frankly, the vision of dance recitals that we get is pretty dead on accurate, with the exception that they did provide refreshments.
True, yeah. And the other thing I would say, I remember going to a couple recitals that my sister did, and it was not on such a small stage. It was like,
No, I went to a friend of mine, and it was like one of my sister's friends. I don't even remember now, but like they were in the younger group and they did it. But then like the older group performs like 800 times, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like just there forever. And you've already seen the one person that you were there being supportive to see. And now you're just watching.
Just watching.
Mhm.
You're
A
just
lot
there.
of questionable dance choices.
Yeah. So Kevin comes in, finally gets his dad to go out the door. And I loved it because it's like, it can't be any worse than those sports banquets you drug us all to. To which George is like, hey, those were great. And it's like, of course, you would think so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they finally get to the recital. Apparently, they stopped for gas 3 times. They come in. They've got seats up front. George goes to get a little refreshment. Nice old lady is like, would you like some tropical punch? He's like, you got anything harder? She hands him a brownie.
Which is like rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taps on the tap.
Mhm.
A brownie, especially. A cookie can tap. A
Yeah,
brownie,
brownie
should
should
not
not.
tap.
No.
I will say, in our current day and age, offering a brownie that's harder is like, I had to.
Yeah. It was a different
just
thought.
like-
Yeah.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
if only this was today. That brownie could be much harder.
It could have fixed a lot of
Mhm.
problems.
Yeah, we could have.
Yeah,
managed a lot.
we all had that note.
Yeah. So George finally goes and sits down. They've got their seats up front, and he happens to sit by another big guy on his other side, who, and this is where we get the wonderful dialogue.
Well, we
Just-
know he's the guy because he's like, yeah, I wish I was at the Penguins game, right?
Right.
Pirates,
Mhm.
Penguins. I don't
Penguins,
remember what
yeah.
season it was.
Yeah.
This is just a prime reason you don't talk to people when you're sitting
Don't
at a
talk to
thing.
people.
Just they're gonna say something, or you're gonna
Yeah.
say something. So you're like, oh, now we have
Well,
to
it was
sit
just
here.
George wasn't exactly straying too far from the thoughts because he's like, can't miss my little princess, and George is like, I know what you mean. It's like, oh, George, come on.
Sir.
Well, it wasn't at this point. He wasn't
Right.
defending his son yet. That becomes
No.
that is
He's
different.
just being
matter
real
entirely.
fragile.
He
Yeah.
just,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't until all the other comments, check out Prince Valiant. There's a guy that rides side saddle.
I
was like,
wrote that down too.
wow.
Yeah,
And
that got
and
me.
Take a
here's
shot.
the thing. I have long stated that why don't guys ride side saddle?
I
It makes
feel
a
like
hell of
if
a lot more
anyone.
sense. If anyone's going to, guys should be.
Mhm.
I think we
one
got
should
this all
ride-
backwards.
No one should
Yeah.
ride side saddle. It's ridiculous. Just right.
It is nonsense.
Yeah.
It is nonsense, but if anyone's going to, it should be somebody that has a
Yeah.
dangly bit there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
So,
I think it's about the
know.
dress. You got to be able to throw, you keep your dress on one side or some such. I don't know.
Well, you don't want to risk seeing an ankle. I mean,
oh,
It,
yeah.
That's
it's
true.
a big deal.
also,
well, their boots.
you
went up
you
there.
might enjoy it.
Mm.
Mhm. Man. That just makes me think of just random tangent. I remember Tombstone when they're writing, and I forget Dana Delaney's writing. And they
Yeah.
make her look like she's riding side saddle, but when they ride, you see those fake legs just bouncing up. And down.
Yeah, because she's
Because it's
riding
really
that
hard
horse.
to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that saddle too had like a hook thing you latched your leg around to hang on to because it was like for riding fast.
Mhm.
I don't know enough about it. Again, side saddle's ridiculous. Just ride the
Right.
horse.
So,
Unless
but
you're trick riding, in which case then it's fine.
If it's a
'cause you're
show
just-
Yeah.
thing, it's a
Mhm.
different. That's a
Yeah.
whole different animal.
sure. But we're back to dancing, and then we get Wesley coming out, one boy and 5 girls. To which our lovely friend on the side, here's another one. This kid doesn't have a chance. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
sir. I love when he's like, which one's
Sir,
yours?
I don't think you're not doing great. I mean, I don't see your wife there with you.
Yeah,
so,
Right?
Good point.
like, is this your
Good
weekend?
point.
Okay.
Oh snap! Amy
Oh,
got
wow.
him.
I
Yeah.
got him.
That kid
And-
soul went back in time. That hurt him. He felt that.
Dang. To which he asked, which one's yours? And George is like, one of them. Just
Over there.
generally ways. This is
Mhm.
one of them. To which the guy's like, my Cindy's the one next to Tinkerbell.
Oh,
And
See,
it keeps going,
this meathead should have just at least thought for a second he could be talking to the dad of the little boy on stage. But he's
he
too
did
smart.
not.
There's not that
He
many
just-
people there.
Right? And it just kept going. Tink made a nice move. He's a Fruit Loop.
Mhm.
If he let his hair grow a little bit, he'd make a pretty nice girl. It's just like, oh.
Yeah.
And that
This guy
was-
thinks
that
he's
was
made a
definitely-
friend.
Yeah, to which George stands up and defends his son. And I was like, thank you for
There
doing
you
this,
go.
Joe. Thank you.
yeah. It's one thing if I'm going to make fun of my own son. It's another thing if you do
Yeah.
it. I'm not going to stand for it.
I can be upset he's gay.
Yeah.
You can't.
Right. But he definitely stands up for Wesley, says he's doing a hell of a job, and he's like, if you open your mouth again, you're going to Never Never Land.
Yeah. Love that. I will say there is something to be said about having your thoughts played back to you out of the mouth of another person.
Yeah.
That makes you
Uh-huh.
realize how ridiculous you actually sound. It's a very
Mhm.
valuable thing to have done to you once in a while. It's like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
that
Yes.
sounds
Sure.
that
Oh
sounds
no.
stupid.
Oh no.
Yeah. You ever watched a video of yourself when you're talking about something and you're just like, oh, why did I even say that? That's stupid. I've done that a
Yeah.
lot because I have foot
Sure.
and mouth
Oh, yeah.
disease. Yeah.
I was going to say, when we're podcasting live on Twitch, sure.
I
that can
have
happen.
thousands of hours of mistakes on Twitch. It's just an archive of stupid
Yeah.
things said over the years.
So then George sits down. We get the rest of it. Everybody's happy. Then we cut to the attic of the house, to which George is apparently putting up the shoulder pads. Finds a bunch of other little sports stuff here and there. He kind of messes around with, plays with. Mr. Belvedere, hearing the noise, comes to investigate. And then we get George kind of talking through his feelings a little bit, but yeah,
He's not there
no.
at all.
So I love he's talking about Kevin just wasn't any good at sports. Then Heather was a girl, and it's like, ugh, yeah,
And she
Heavy
can't
sigh.
play sports. I mean, she is a girl when she
Right.
came out. Like, that's already
What's she
a
gonna do? Play
handicap.
basketball side saddle? This is not gonna work.
yeah,
And this was a point in the episode where, like, so I grew up with a dad who played sports. And because of that, like, I was involved in sports at a very young age. It was just natural. It was a thing that we did. But my sister also was. So it wasn't like my dad was not George, but he definitely had some of that, like, hey, I want my kid to play sports because that's the thing that I did. And it was a way to relate.
sure,
But he also didn't push that. And if I hadn't been involved in it, it wouldn't have been a big deal.
Mhm.
But like part of this I could understand. And I've known people like George where they do get too deep into it, too much of the like living vicariously through their kids because they didn't do the things that they wanted. So the kids are the chance for them to get that glory some way.
right.
So it was
It's
like,
a tale as old as
but
time.
then it's like, yeah, but George, come on. Like you can do better than this.
Yeah,
I grew up with a dad that cries at movies, so I did all right.
good job.
The best. We even get him talking about, because they go back and forth about like the last chance for a trophy.
Mhm.
And Mr. Belvedere's like, "Do you have a trophy?" It's like, no.
That told
Yeah.
you a lot.
Yeah.
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 Well, that was great. It's like I could have been good, with speed, agility, talent.
Oh, is that all?
Mhm.
That's all he was missing.
And
That's it.
to which Mr. Belvedere again points out, look, just because he's doing ballet today doesn't mean he can't do something later. Like, this isn't the only thing he will ever do,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yep.
might not be the only thing he ever do. It could lead to something else. Have a little faith in your boy.
Yeah. This is
I
definitely
mean,
common.
that's still not great. Like, that feels just like we're going to meet him halfway.
Uh-huh.
Because that's still not a great take.
Yeah.
It's the
To
best
which-
you're gonna do in the 80s, Amy. It's all we can
Yeah.
hope for.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I love Mr. Belvedere saying, when I first started playing the bassoon, I thought that was all I was going to do. Then I found an animal-like passion for lawn bowling,
Hell yeah.
to which George just leaves. It's like, okay.
George has trouble relating to other people liking anything that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
Or anything that's not an American sport.
Yeah.
He would love Twitter.
Oh yeah, he would. He'd be all about that.
Yep.
I will say though, I did like, and a stigma in the chat brings this up too, but I did like when he picks up the basketball, he starts whistling "Sweet Georgia Brown"
Yeah.
Hmm.
and take me out to the ball game. Like that was cool. I did
Mhm.
enjoy that a little bit.
Yeah.
He's just got
But
work
he's
to
like
do.
mourning his son.
Mhm.
Like, like,
Oh, he is.
like you need to calm down, dude.
He's mourning the loss of his expectations. Like I think
Yeah.
it's not so much he's mourning his son as trying to be a better person by letting those things go is the way I read it.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
I'm working through myself because I've put all these things on him, but he's not going to let go
Sure.
completely. So it's
No.
a tough. I understand your read completely. But I definitely saw in there like I've just got dreams that I had that I'm realizing are not a thing. So it's maybe not mourning his son doing something different, but rather him figuring out how to
Yeah.
let go. You can take it one way or the
Sure.
other. Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Look, I'm a glass half full. I'm like, he's
Yeah,
got to be
yours
good
is
in there
very
somewhere.
generous. Yours
Yeah.
is very generous. I don't disagree with it. You're
Yeah.
not wrong.
Yeah.
And then we get to our final scene, Mr. Belvedere writing in his journal.
Okay, all right. First of all, that man is not fitting in that twin size bed.
No.
That's
No,
all I could
because-
see. I'm like, that man is not, because he is so tall.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like
He's
he
so
was-
tall.
He was 6'3". Like I know how tall that is. You do not fit in that twin bed.
No.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah, that bed was definitely a prop. And just
Yeah.
There's not actually a mattress
I got
on
completely distracted from learning the lesson.
Mhm.
there.
He just talks about, George writing or getting numbers for Wesley sewn to
On
the
the
back
back
of
of
his
his
leotard.
leotard. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. And then
Again,
he
George
makes-
is trying. He's
Yeah.
trying. Just not doing a good job of it.
Yeah.
but he's-
And then he ends it with his footnote of, it has reawakened an interest in me, to which he picks up a big old bassoon and starts playing.
Uh-huh.
And then we get George, hey, knock it off. We get the funny, oh, I'm just going to belch it out to you and just blow in as hard as I
Mhm.
can.
Mhm. It was
So-
very good.
And that was the end of Mr. Belvedere, season 1, episode 3, Gotta Dance. So, what did everybody think? We'll start with you, Amy.
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, for all my criticisms, it was pretty fun. And I mean, it's a really, I mean, it is a quintessentially 80s sitcom
Mhm.
for
Yes.
sure. I was looking in the IMDb, talks about how, a lot like Golden Girls, that there are episodes that get into some pretty surprisingly deep stuff.
Mhm.
Which is, I mean, that was a thing we were doing then.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. Especially if, you're watching it because of Bob Uecker, and now maybe you're being exposed to some things that you wouldn't have otherwise. And like,
Right.
that's pretty
Yeah.
good. I'm pretty all right with that.
Mhm.
Hmm.
What'd you think, Travis?
I had a good time. It was fun. I mean, I love good dry wit from
Mhm.
like the trope of the butler slash housekeeper slash maid, whomever it is.
Yeah,
Whether
running
it's
the house.
Mhm.
yeah, whether it's
Alice.
Jeffrey or
Yeah.
Alice or whomever, Benson. Like
Yeah.
it's such a great trope, and he's right there at the top of that list. And I thought it was very cleverly written too. I thought the jokes were good.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of great jokes, and I love there was a lot of good jokes that just didn't pertain to everything in the episode, but we need to fill time. Let's do a good joke about birth control right here.
Yeah, that
Sure.
was good.
Oh, so
Sure.
That was good. That was a good joke.
Yep.
hmm
Steven, what'd you think, having never watched it before?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was incredibly made for its time in terms of
Mhm.
subject matter, as we've clearly been through. But
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I like the ensemble. I like Bob Euchre. I like
Mhm.
Mr. Belvedere. I definitely I could watch more of this. It was a good time.
Good. All right. So, did we have any feedback about this at all?
We
No
did not.
emails. No
Okay.
emails. I did try to threads it today, and I got
Yeah.
nothing back on that.
Same.
So, a stigma clearly liked it in the chat.
Yeah.
hmm
That I know. But yeah, no
Right.
official emails.
All right. So, anybody who wants to send us feedback, please do. Twitter, Those Days Show, email, thosewerethedayshow@gmail.com. All our socials are in the, whatchamacallit,
Show
In
notes.
the show notes.
There we go. There's a word. You can find us there. You can hit us up anytime. Let us know what you're thinking about anything that we've covered.
Yep.
And if you're from
Like-
Pittsburgh and you have hate mail to send, please send it. We want to
Direct
hear it.
straight
Sure.
to me.
Yeah, but put attention, Stephen, right? in
I
the
can
subject
take
line.
Speaking of Steven, he's actually bringing us a show next week. Are we doing one next
2
week?
weeks
Yeah,
from now.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2
That's right.
weeks.
We're
Yeah,
going to be
we'll be out.
post Dragon Con. We're not going to be able to function on Monday.
No,
So
No.
we will be bringing you. Are you ready for me to tell them what we're going to talk about?
absolutely.
Because I'm ready. This could be the riskiest episode of television
so
I've ever
excited.
decided to cover in terms of subject and what we're going to be forced to talk about. But we are going
boy.
to one of my favorite sitcoms of all time, All in the Family.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
And I am so excited about it. We're going to do an episode, season 4, episode 20, Lionel's Engagement. And if you know anything about the Jeffersons, you might know why Mr. Archie might be so upset about everything. It's
Oh,
going to be
boy.
the best time. So I'm really looking forward to it.
You thought you heard a lot of sighs with this episode.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we'll talk
Oh.
about it. We'll talk about it during the episode.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we will.
We
Talk
will.
about
We
it.
will.
Sure, we will. Yep.
That is streaming on
And-
FreeVee for those who are looking for it on FreeVee.
Oh, excellent.
Yep.
Also, I mean, the namesake of this podcast, Those Were the Days.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
I'm sure
Yep,
there'll be
Carol
some discussion
O'Connor
of
and,
theme songs.
Gene Stapleton belting
Yep.
it out.
Yep. And before we do that episode, though, we're all going to be, well, 3 of us will be at, and Amy will be live via satellite at Dragon Con,
Yes, we
Yes.
will.
where
gonna
we're
be
doing, what
that.
are we doing, Steven?
It's Saturday at 4:00, right? We're doing retro rewind roulette.
Awesome.
Where we will be spinning a wheel and then chatting about various topics from classic TV, our favorite moments, favorite, guest stars, spin-off moments, all kinds of fun stuff. It's going to be a great time. Let the audience participate. I have bought a bunch of old man candy from the dollar
Yeah,
store.
buddy.
So if you're coming to
Yeah.
Dragon Con and you like candy, I got some. I had to be careful because you have to buy it where it's individually wrapped. You can't just buy a bag of circus
Yeah.
peanuts.
Right. Mhm.
So
No.
I couldn't do the circus peanuts, which is really bothersome to me. But I got a bunch of basically hard candy sweets. It's just the best.
Nice.
Those little strawberry
Perfect.
things.
I was about
you know?
to ask if you got the strawberry.
Yes.
Yeah, you got the
Yes.
strawberry
Little goo
things,
inside.
caramels and butterscotches. It's just the best.
Mhm.
It's the best assortment.
We'll also we'll have candies. We'll have stickers. Come hang out Saturday,
Mhm.
4 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Hilton Galleria. right?
Hilton Gallery.
Yes.
I'm about to tell you. Just give me a second. We're not going to edit this. You're going to actually hear me saying this. Rich, those were the days. Is 4 p.m. on Saturday in Galleria 7.
All
So
right.
if I remember
you go.
correctly, Galleria 7 is DC Digital Media 2 on Twitch. But just keep an eye on our Twitters, and we'll make sure that you know what that is. But follow
Yes.
DC Digital Media and DC Digital Media 2 on Twitch for both those channels, and you can watch live as we do our thing.
Sweet.
Yes.
It's going to be great.
All right. All right. So we plugged Dragon Con. We need to plug one more thing.
Yes, we
Heck
do.
yeah, we do.
Amy, go for it.
We are now a third of the way to our funding goal for Aquilo Book
Yes.
1, which is very exciting, but we need to keep it going. We need 750 copies pre-ordered by Halloween, and that clock is ticking. So if you want more information about all of the pre-order bonuses that you get, there's some good ones. There's bookmarks. There's if you pre-order 3 or more copies, you get your very own Citizen of Aquilo ID card.
Nice.
It's good stuff. So yeah, there's a free bonus story next month, I'm told. That's exciting. Audio messages for me, all kinds of stuff, whatever it takes, quite frankly. Please pre-order our book. Go to aquilo.com/book for all the details and to get yours today.
Yep.
Woo.
Yep. And we've got
JF and I are getting
postcards we'll
ulcers.
be having at Dragon Con as well. So
Yeah.
definitely look for those.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's real scary. It's a real scary one.
We're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna hand those out to everybody we can find.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, all right. So we Dragon Con, Aquilo.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
That's
it.
it.
That's it. So after we recover from Dragon Con, we will see you in a couple weeks to watch them all in the family.
Yep.
So,
That will be
can't
on
wait.
September 9th. September
Mhm.
9th. We'll be
Whew.
back. Yep.
So thanks as always to everybody for watching, everybody in the chat that's been hanging out with us tonight. Those of you listening on the podcast or watching on the YouTubes, we appreciate each and every one of you. So until next time, and all in the family, for Amy, for Travis, for Steven, I'm Audie, and this has been Those Were the Days. It's been our pleasure to serve you.